Hi, my name is McKenna Boone, and I will be presenting how a carbon tax would work. A carbon tax focuses on the reduction of greenhouse gases, including carbon. Greenhouse gases warm both the atmosphere and the Earth's surface, which significantly impacts things like rainfall, retreating of glaciers and sea ice, and sea levels. In 2019, carbon dioxide held 80% of all global greenhouse gas emissions. This is why the carbon tax has the name, being that carbon is the most abundant. The source of the greenhouse gases from human activity are from transportation, electricity, industry, commercial and residential usage, and agriculture. Policy instruments such as a carbon tax is a way for the government to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And under a carbon tax, the government sets a price that emitters must pay for each ton of greenhouse gas emissions that they emit. It will look like both an emission tax that is based on the quantity that is produced and on the tax of goods and services that generally emit large amounts of greenhouse gases. Its goal is to lessen the amount of greenhouse gases within the atmosphere by putting a price on emissions in the form of a tax or fee, which can create the incentive to produce less greenhouse gases. Greenhouse gas emissions create economic and environmental threats when considering how much to tax or fee, and these include property damage from storms, human health risks, reduced agricultural productivity, ecosystem deterioration, and so on. These threats expose a social and environmental cost to the effects of climate change. A carbon tax can correct these externalities by raising the costs at the source and when consumed, and this can look like a fee to the price of energy or gas. Creating estimates of costs differ greatly, but ideally they will weigh in these costs. An example of what the pricing might look like can be found within a study by Catherine Rickey and others, and it shows what the social cost of carbon would be for each country, and for the US, it would be priced at $48 per ton of carbon. The burden of a carbon tax will affect different groups of people at different rates. Most of this burden will fall heavily onto the energy-intensive industries and lower-income households, as a carbon tax would increase the price of burning fossil fuels and any resulting goods or services, like energy. Lower-income households, on average, spend a larger share of their income on energy than higher-income households, showing that they will be impacted at greater lengths. As an example, a tax of $40 per ton would add to about 36 cents to the price of a gallon of gasoline, or 2 cents to the average price of a kilowatt hour of electricity. The impact of carbon tax would differ among economic groups depending on the extent of energy price changes, regional energy production, and consumption patterns. These distributional impacts are dependent on the extent at which businesses could pass on that higher energy cost to the customers. It will be important for a carbon tax to be implemented in a way that represents these burdens. While this will be great for reducing greenhouse gases and help the climate change problem, it will too have effects on society, and that should be carefully navigated within the policy and rulemaking of a carbon tax.